So this is Karia again, and I have another video for you today. Today we are going to be talking about backgrounds and all the different things that you can use for your backgrounds. Before we start, there is a subscribe link down below. There's a like button. Like this video if you like this video. There's also a tip jar up there if you want to help support the channel. So what I have here is I have all the various things that, well, not all the various things, you can use more than this. I have some of the options that you all have for doing your backgrounds for your adult coloring book pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the camera and then I'm going to rearrange myself, and we're going to start with the wet media first because the wet media is, believe it or not, cleaner than the dry media. So we're going to start with the wet media and then we're going to come back for the dry media, which is your pastels and all your various sorts of stuff. So we're going to start with the wet and then I'll be right back. And I know I said I would start with the wet medium. But before we start with the wet, I'm going to talk to you about some of these other ones. The markers. This is my 1 Copic marker, and I keep meaning to get a refill for that. You can use the colored pencils for backgrounds. Now, if you have some really soft colored pencils like Prismacolor, it may not be worth it to use them for big backgrounds because they need to be sharpened a lot. Like these, I've used these for a lot of backgrounds, and I haven't really, like, I've had to sharpen them like once or twice while I'm working on the backgrounds, but it's not too bad. So you have things like that. Let me show you. These brush pens are really nice for background too, because you can lay down the color. As you can see, that does need to be refilled. The Copic is a water marker, but you can also use things like the TomBow. This is a TomBow marker, which is a water-based marker. Instead of the Copics, which are alcohol-based markers. And what I like about these water markers is that you can add water. They're also non-toxic, so they don't have a strong smell. I did a review of these, and there'll be a link to all of these reviews down in the description below, because for a lot of these things I've done reviews for, but you can see how fast that works up a line. So you can use things like markers, you can use things like regular colored pencils. Let me show you a little bit of activating these water-based markers, a little bit of the activation. So you can do that with the water-based markers. You don't have to activate them. You can just use them as regular markers. But if you want to use them for effects, you can totally get your brush out and activate them with water in this way. So now that we've covered that, let's go into things like colored pencils. So watercolor pencils. So what I like about, and you can also use like Inktense pencils and other water soluble pencils. What I like about these watercolor pencils is that they give you a lot of flexibility, and they're also really nice for adult coloring books because a lot of the paper that we use for adult coloring books is basically what comes with, and you don't always have a say in getting like the premium watercolor paper or watercolor paper that's of your choice. So some of these might be easier or harder to work with the very light water, with the very thin papers that we get. But with the watercolor pencils, you just lay down the pencil and then you don't need to add a lot of water. So you just dab that water out and then you just add a very small amount of water and you get a really nice vibrant color with these with a watercolor pencil. So that's one of the things that you can use for your backgrounds is your watercolor pencils. You can go back and forth. I'm sort of deliberately making a mess here. I'm not really doing it that cleanly. The other thing you can use is you can use things like these water soluble crayons here. These are the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2, and I also did a video on these if you want to check that out. So the crayons go here, and again, you can also use these dry, and you don't have to add water to these. So that's one of the benefits of being able to use these for coloring books, is you can dictate how much water you add to them. One of the things that may be a little bit interesting for these is that Unlike the Albert Dürer watercolor pencils, which once they dry, that's it. Once you wet them, these you can keep re-wetting them and keep reactivating them. So you're gonna have to put some sort of coating or finish on them if you do, or be really careful not to add water to them. The same thing applies for these. These are crayons, and these are these can be used as crayons too, although they didn't go down as bright as the Inktense crayons when you just use them as a crayons. These are the Aqua Briques. These worked a little bit better as if you wet them first. But anyway, but you can use those dry as well. So let's wet these up and show you that these gives you nice strong color when you add water. So that's something that you can use those to. Oh, I meant to use the blocks over there. Oops. I can take the blocks. Actually, the other thing you can do with the blocks, these blocks that I really liked, and I thought that that's where these blocks perform better, is if you take the color, you can activate this color here, and you can activate this color here, and then you can mix them up. Like you would, like if you were working with a half pan, you can mix them up. And you can use this here to get like a bluish purple. And then you can lay down a lot of color. You can see that nice rich color that you get with this bluish purple. So you can see that you can do that and you can get a nice strong color. And then if you want to clean up the purple here, this is easy to do. All you do is you just pick up this purple that's here. And then you get back to the original color and you start getting back to the original color that way. So that's really nice with these. Unlike the Inktense, these will keep reactivating if you add water to them. So unlike the Inktense, which once you let them dry, they stay dry, these don't really work that same way. So that's for the blocks that you can use for backgrounds. The other thing that you can use is, I also did a video on these. If you have some artist grade paints, let me get this blue here. And these are really high quality artist grade paints. This is a small tin. I think this tin, when I did the video, they were like $18 on Amazon, but they've since gone up to like $22. But even at $22, these are really, really nice value. So this is probably a lot more pigment than is probably needed for this demonstration purpose. But I still wanted to show you these, and you can see how strong the color is and how long the color lasts. Look at that. And you can just use that. And you can see how much pigment is in there. So you don't need to use nearly as much as I did. Look at all that you got from just one brush fill. So just to show you the options, and that's just on your wet options. Look at all these different things you can use. You can use the color pencils, you can use regular markers, you can use a water-soluble pencil, you can use the Inktense blocks or the Aqua Briques. You can use artist-grade watercolor paints. Look at that. That's so wonderful. I love this Sennelier. These are Sennelier paints. I love those Senneliers. Or you can use regular crayons. You can use water-soluble crayons like the Neocolor Inktense, or the although Inktense are really Inktense blocks. So you with the Inktense, you have to remember that that's ink. So that's really a little bit different than these, but you can use them the same way. The usage is the same, even though the composition is a little bit different. So you can use these Neocolor 2s, or you can use these bricks. So I'm going to pause right here, and then I'm going to come back for the pastel section. So I will be right back. All right, so I am back with the pastel section. The other thing is you can use a lot of stuff that I really am not going to talk about in this video. You can use things like makeup. You can use like whatever it is you have around the house. I've seen people do some really, really innovative things. So, it's really up to your imagination. I'm just showing you some of the things that you can use. Having said that, let's get to the pastel section. So, one of the things that you can use is you can use soft pastels, and I did a video on soft pastels versus oil pastels. And these are artist grade extra soft pastels. These are really meant to be used with, they make a special kind of paper. These are really meant to be used with that special paper, but you can use these 4 pages if you're so inclined. But they are relatively pricey. They are quite pricey. But again, it's up to you. It's your money. You spend it however you like. But like soft pastels, these will make your regular pastel mess. But what you can do here is you can create really intricate and surprising, complex. I've seen people make like photorealistic, you know, entire photorealistic paintings with these. So really it's your imagination is the limit here. The benefit of soft pastels though is that they can be used on regular adult coloring book pages. So unlike the water media section where really you want to use them on watercolor paper to get the maximum effect, and you can use them on regular coloring book paper with these soft pastels. It doesn't necessarily have to be this brand. With any brand of soft pastels, you can use them on any kind of regular coloring book paper. So, and the other thing that you can do is then you can take your finger, and these are really highly pigmented, really high quality artist pastels, but you can do stuff like this where you can get really in there, and then you can use your finger to help create, you know, whatever effects you want to create. And these are really quite nice. As I said, I use this with the paper. They gave you like a little tiny, it was like a teeny tiny card of their special paper, and it was so wonderful. It's so much better than using these on regular paper, but that paper is extremely expensive. I think it was like $30 for 12 sheets. So I really won't be buying it anytime soon. But you don't have to, again, you don't have to buy those. That was just like what I saw when I got these, because I wanted to get these to sort of see if really I didn't like the brand of soft pastels or if I didn't like the soft pastel medium. And I mean, I'm not a fan of them for adult coloring books because of this happens to your hand. So, but that's my opinion. People use like makeup brushes. You can use gloves. Look at all this pigment that I dropped on here. You can get all of that in there. And this company actually makes like, pastel brushes that you can use, but you can see, how much color got around from just those little lines, and I could have probably keep going further and keep depositing it in here, and there's a lot more, and you can make all sorts of things with this. So really it's just your imagination and whether or not this is something that you like to do. I think I'm more of a wet media person. Oh, and also a lot of soft pastels, I think most soft pastels are water soluble, so you can like add water to them and make effects. So that is the traditional soft pastel. Now this is something that I didn't talk about in a previous video, and I will be doing a review of these. These are Prismacolor new pastels, and what these are is these are essentially what they call hard pastels, and you'll see what they're called hard pastels in a minute, because I'm going to get a stick out and you're going to see instantly the difference. And you see that these, unlike the soft pastels, which basically they feel really quite chalky, they feel another name for them is chalk pastels. These are much harder in texture and in terms of how they feel, and you can see from this that you can actually break them apart into different sections. And the other thing about hard pastels is that I feel like it's a little bit, how do I say, these are a lot less messy for me personally. And you can see how I'm getting in here, and I'm using way more than I used for the other one, and you can see that it's not making the same sort of mess in my hand. And you can use these like chalk holes. I mean, you can use the side of them like this to get really big areas. You can use them with more detailing by getting in the corners, and you can see when I use this giant area how much it doesn't make a mess. But these do have a tendency to break, which is to be expected with pastels. The other thing that's really nice about these hard and soft pastels is, as you can see, they're totally interchangeable. So you can use the hard and soft pastels together. So that's something that you can do if you are so inclined. And so that's something else that you can do. And I'm not sure yet how I feel about the hard pastels. I haven't played with them enough to decide whether or not I like them. So, but I do like the fact that it's a lot less mess. And I do like the fact that just like the soft pastels, you can get a lot of space very quickly. So you can see how you can get all that space really quickly. And you can get all that into the pastel paper. I'm actually using Strathmore pastel paper for this because I got some pastel paper for a previous video that I did. So I wanted to use it all up. So, I waste not, want not, right? So I wanted to make sure that I actually get use of this pastel paper. But you can see the difference between the soft pastel. Soft pastel is like, there's so much dust that it actually goes into the hard pastel when I started using it. That's the other thing too, is you'll see this from my set. I'm going to take the two sets and put them side by side. Hopefully the dust won't get too badly. So you can see I use this to make a little tiny drawing, and you can see how the sticks got the different colors in them. These are really quite soft for soft pastels, but I've used this for at least 2 or 3 pictures, and you see the difference. The only one that has any kind of deposit from the other colors is the one that I used with the soft pastels. I mean, there's a little bit of the black to the white, like if you want to do that, but these are considerably cleaner than the soft pastels. So that's one of the benefits of them, is that they're much, much cleaner. Also, unlike the Sennelier soft pastels, because these aren't nearly as soft, you can use these on pretty much any paper and really get a lot of use out of them without feeling like you're wasting it, which is weird because I don't normally feel like I'm wasting stuff. Like normally I feel like it's meant to be used, but with the Sennelier soft pastels, I really feel like I need to get their special paper. And that's really the first time I felt that way, because you see me, I use stuff wherever. But that's the first time I really felt like I needed to get their special paper. But anyway, but with these, you can just go nuts. And for me, I didn't feel like I was wasting it at all. I felt like I had a really fun time with these. My only issue with these is there aren't as many brands that have like hard pastels, and sometimes your choices can be a little bit limited. So that's the only thing. But they also, they also blend just as well. But you can see that what's in my hand, the colors that are in my hand are the ones where I used a lot in the soft pastel, but this brown is like hardly in my hand. So that's really fun. So those are 2 options for pastel backgrounds. If you want to use pastels, you can use soft or hard pastels. Again, you don't need to use these expensive brands at all. The first video I did with the soft pastels, I just used a regular brand. I think it was $6 for the entire pack, and it was just as messy. If anything, it was more messy. The other thing you can do, and I did do another video on this, is you can get these PanPastels. I did do a video on the PanPastels. And again, there'll be a link to all these different videos. And the PanPastels, let me show you real quick, because I did a whole long video on the PanPastels. The PanPastels, you just rub it on and you use these things as finger estimation. And unlike the other ones, these do not make a huge giant mess. You just rub on here and then you get these on here. The only thing is that these really do prefer a white paper. You don't have to use a white paper, but I feel like I got more out of it when I used a white paper because they don't lay down as much material. I feel like I got more out of them, but just like the soft pastels, these are totally blendable, so you can lay down different colors. Let me try to get some fun colors in here for you. So let me get this. Let me get a white for you. See how the white looks. Oh, that white looks nice. Let me move that sheet down further so you can see a little bit better. And I'm not working in the living room, so I don't have as much light as I normally would have. But you can see that that white gets in there, and then you can blend them just like you would with the traditional soft pastels. So I really like this. This is probably what I'm going to be using for most of my pastel backgrounds, if I'm honest with you, is the PanPastels. The only thing is that they are a little bit on the pricey side. That I don't like. So I took 3 colors here, and then I put those 3 colors down, and you can see the elements of those 3 colors. And the more I blend them, the more I get the different colors. I can like lighten it up a little bit. You know, it's really, these are really a lot of fun. I went out to the store and I got a whole bunch of these because I feel like these are better if you don't, if you want to mix them in the pan, then I would do like the light yellow with the dark yellow, but I wouldn't do like the light yellow and then go to the red. I would get a different finger thing for the red. So then if you wanted to take this dark green, you could take this dark green and go on here. And you can see how it just goes on here, but you can see how there's a lot less dust of these 2 different mediums, even though they're both pastel mediums. So you can see how there's a lot less dust. I went and I got a lighter green with a darker green. I love how much less dust there is for these. So these are my favorite for doing backgrounds. But this is just like the tip of the iceberg of things that you can do with backgrounds. And I just want to show you how interchangeable they are with your other pastels. So these are interchangeable with your other soft pastels. You can use oil pastels, which I don't have out, but I did do a video. I did a number of videos with oil pastels. You can also use oil pastels, but with oil pastels, you risk the oil seeping through. So I would recommend that you use the oil pastels on pastel papers, but you can transfer the images to pastel papers. So for any of these, you can transfer, if you want to use pastel paper, you can transfer the image to pastel paper. But I hope that gives you guys a nice summary intro into all the things that are possible. I love these. I love this. I love these PanPastels. Look at that. Look how nice that goes on and how there's no mess. But if you want to blend, like let's say you want to blend these 2 areas, then you can totally do that too. You don't have to worry about having a big old mess like I had there. And then if you want to clean it, you just wipe it on a paper towel. Just wipe it on a paper towel. You don't want to wipe too hard though, because you don't want to damage this, so you want to be able to keep using this. So anyway, I hope you guys really like this video. Let me get the watercolor thing, because the watercolor thing is totally dry now. So this is the one we did earlier with the watercolor thing, the crayons and the Inktense blocks, which you can use as crayons, and you can just use those dry. The blocks wet, which will be like this, and your artist grade paint and your pencils in addition to your pastels. So that's just like a basic intro into some of the many options you have for your adult coloring book backgrounds. And I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you guys found this helpful. And I am going to take a break and go wash my hands before I have dinner, because I use some soft pastels, and that means messy hands. Yes, you can use gloves. I know people are going to tell me in the comment, you can use gloves, you can use makeup brushes, you can do all of that. But I don't know. I kind of like to have my hands in it, but not have my hands be dirty, which is why I like these. Anyway, I will see you guys next time, and I hope you guys like this video. Bye.